All right, hello everybody, welcome. My name is Jeff. I have the pleasure, and I'm very honored, by the way, thank you for asking me to host this Gumbo Fireside Chat as we kick off National Gumbo Week.
Right.
So thank you all for being here. So we're going to break this chat up into 4 main parts. We've got the history of gumbo, gumbo ingredients and cultural exchange, the different styles and versions of gumbo, and then the 4th section is gumbo today. So we're going to start with the history of gumbo. Here we go. Gumbo has roots in many cultures: African, French, Native American. If you grew up with gumbo in your homes, do you know which version your family made? Let's start with Chef Wanda. And by the way, that's your introduction. I'm so sorry, I didn't introduce everyone.
That's okay.
Let's go with Chef Wanda first.
Okay. My family version is definitely Louisiana, but not New Orleans.
Oh, interesting. Where, if not New Orleans?
Well, because of the ingredients. I don't know if you want me to speak on that now, but it was because of the ingredients. Because Grandma put okra and filet in her gumbo, and traditionally some people I've heard say that it's either a filet gumbo or not. You don't use 2 thickeners. But in hindsight, Grandma used 3 thickeners because she had roux, she had okra, and she had filet.
And you can't argue with Grandma.
I don't, and that's the base of where my taste buds blend in my cooking of gumbo.
Okay, so I'm going to just say that Louisiana, that's African, French, possibly Native American.
Spanish too, even, yeah.
Spanish, yeah, absolutely. All right, Christina, Pleasure Principal.
That's right.
Yes.
Hi, thank you. I'm from Chicago, so that kind of ends up being the site of a lot of Black families during the Great Migration. So I wouldn't be able to speak to where specifically the gumbo we grew up with was from. I assume it's New Orleans style, but I could, be wrong if it's a specific region. But we definitely just did okra. And what Chef Wanda said is inherently true. Anyone that says you can't use 2 thickeners is already wrong because the roux is a thickener. But yeah, I think it was for simplicity and just maybe a perception of purity, but just okra in our version. And then it, and we can get into this later with ingredients too, featured kind of every protein it could,
All of the above.
Yes, definitely. So we can get into that and how it differs from Cajun and Creole style gumbos. But yeah, that was my experience. Grandma did just okra.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Gumbo. Let's hear it.
Teach us.
Yeah.
Truly.
This is my take an opinion. So my grandmother did. There was always okra. In my opinion, okay. There's no gumbo without the okra.
Okay.
It is a necessity. You also gotta have some roux, right? And so when we're talking about the dish in my family and how it came about, my folks are from Mississippi, and so the roux is always there, the okra is always there, and then my mom, she likes the filet in the gumbo.
Okay.
And what she says is, my mom left Mississippi when she was about 7. She said it reminds me of the Delta because of the murky kind of
Earthiness.
earthy kind of components of the sassafras. And so the flavor there is unique. My grandmother, on the other hand, despised it.
Okay.
And so when grandma would make the pot of the bow, the filet will be on the side for people to pick and choose as they please.
Oh, the added in post.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, that was my mom too.
Wow.
It was on the
I was
side.
about to ask
So
if there was a
when you go over to the restaurant, you'll see a little shaker of filet.
Wow. I love it.
Yes.
So that's kind of how we would do it.
where that came from.
Can't
So
lose, yeah.
seems like you're all 3 saying kind of a mix of cultures. Let's be real, that's kind of what we all are.
Yeah.
In this country, that's kind of what informed the gumbo that you grew up with. Would you say that as well? A mix of
Yeah,
culture?
absolutely. So I think the cool thing about gumbo is that if you went to your friend's house and their parents and how they made it versus how your grandmother make it, and then that conversation would happen around, well, who's better, why they do it that way, what's the difference, and then it kind of, I'll say it, that's what drove the gumbo social concept was the conversation piece. We started right around, there was this conversation happening with Trump, running for presidency.
Was this in 2016?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm like, man, a lot of people were divided. I'm like, man, we put a bowl of gumbo in front of these fools, we can actually have some conversation.
Gumbo for president.
Right? In my opinion, the gumbo itself is church, right? When 3 or more are joined, the church is, the largest presence. So the idea of getting that gumbo in front of people, the social component, and then the customizable piece. My best friend can't have any shellfish. And so people always give us a hard time. We only make the chicken and sausage gumbo, but we allow you to add in your favorite protein.
That's the best way to go.
Right. And it's my idea is that I don't really believe in inclusivity, but I want everyone to be able to try the product.
Yes.
And
It's also
and be able to
business
walk
savvy,
away.
too.
I want you to survive the gumbo, right?
Yeah, totally. And it's also business savvy, right?
Absolutely,
When you're at a scale,
absolutely.
you've got to be able to
Take care of
accommodate
the
everything.
likes of all the different gumbo's, yes.
Yeah, totally.
I also just want to throw out at the outset here, if any of you want to try your gumbo or taste it. I'm always in
You're
Give me my
available
number.
somehow.
All right, okay, the next question. The word gumbo is linked to the African word for okra. And I'm actually not sure exactly where in Africa that word is derived
Yeah.
when we say Africa.
Right, it has to
Big
be
ass
from
place.
a lot of places there.
Yeah, but I have heard that before. Do you prefer your gumbo with okra? We've talked about that a little bit. I think we all said yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then if so yes. Does it remind you of any other dishes you've had? So any other dishes, maybe not as prominent as gumbo in your lives, but any other ways to enjoy okra? Let's go with you this first, Christina, this time.
Okay, yeah.
Just switch it up a little bit.
Like another way in which I enjoy okra or
Yeah.
a dish like gumbo.
I think okra.
Okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, I am one of hopefully a lot of people, certainly in this room, that absolutely love okra. I think it's such a perfect product. It also is just has a myriad of health benefits. It's just like really is a superfood. But I like mine buttermilk soaked and cornmeal crusted and fried. And then, just like a really cool, if I can do a remoulade or like
I was gonna ask you dip.
something like that. Yeah, I gotta have a good dip. And, I'll take it cut lengthwise so I can like crunch it like a Cheeto, or I'll take it, into little circles. But I also just like to like pan fry it on really high heat and maybe a little bit of curry if I want to like make it healthier. It just is absolutely a delicious like gifts from the earth to me. So I've never had bad okra.
Me either.
So that's how I prefer it. Yeah,
Same.
cornmeal fried or
Cornmeal.
hot.
Reminds me of church's chicken.
Do they have cornmeal dusted
Yes,
up? Well, that's
yes,
it.
yes.
I'm about to be in line. I haven't been
Absolutely.
to churches in 20 years. I'm about to go there.
That was like
the first ones to actually do that.
That's
Yeah.
wild. That's a cool side.
That was a home dish, and you got that out commercially with fried okra.
That's
like,
wild. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
I
I
did not
prefer
know
their
that.
fried okra over their chicken. I'm just saying.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Popeye's for chicken, obviously.
Yeah. It has
All
to
right, Mr. Gumbo.
I love okra. I feel like
Lightning round okra.
yeah, I feel like people who don't like okra, this is what it is. You haven't had it prepared
Right.
be. That's right.
in a
Yeah.
way, right?
Yeah.
So, from a marketing standpoint, I'm not saying I'm a genius or anything like that, but what I do, when you're a fat dude, you have to learn how to cultivate people. Like if I'm dating somebody or I'm trying to get someone's phone number, I have to find all of the good aspects of me in order to approach someone, right? And so that I do the same thing with okra, right? Listen to my theory. And so
Come on, Chef.
usually why people don't like okra is because they say slime, right? And so what I've done is We don't use slime at all, right? We use the word viscosity. And what I've learned is people have no idea what viscosity means.
But it's more appealing than slime.
Absolutely. And
Yes.
so what we do is we change the language, right?
Yeah.
And so we talk about things like saltwater brine to help pull out viscosity. We talk about the seeds that add the viscous component of the gumbo. We talk about preparation, frying it, pan fry, that will pull out some of the viscosity. And we talk about the different types of okra and, why the ingredient, the fruit really, and why it's important. And so that just opens the conversation. At Gumbo Social, we slice it so thin and we fry it that folks barely realize that it's there.
Yeah.
The flavor is there, but you're not getting a big piece unless you're getting the vegan gumbo.
Okay.
The vegan gumbo, we intentionally leave it whole because I feel like the vegan gumbo deserves to have some unique components to it to make the dish itself special.
And it gives
right?
it body too. That okra would, lift it up with some texture.
And the funny thing is, when you had that whole okra in there and you're cooking it down, the okra eventually kind of disintegrates.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a fun kind of thing for me, at least. But my favorite way or dish, my mom makes this. She calls it okra casserole. Well, essentially, it's just a smothered okra. So it's in the summertime you got okra, black eyed peas, and tomatoes in season. So it's tomatoes. You saute those down. You add your okra in there, onion, and if you got fresh black eyed peas, you add some of those in there.
Nice.
That sounds incredible.
And then you add shrimp, right? You got a little what you'll call okra casserole, essentially smothered okra.
And it's a gravy then on top, or like
Ish, it's kind of depending on the tomato.
Okay, got it. Oh, like a succotash almost.
Yeah, almost like a succotash. Yeah,
That sounds delicious.
yeah. You put some early grilled tomatoes in there. You get nasty.
Everybody comes for the.
Yeah, you get nasty.
Do you do that every year? Because I'll be back next summer. Is that special?
Last year we had okra for 3 months. Every which way you can imagine. I used Wanda's pepper chow chow for a dish.
Wow, that's a cool.
Corn. I'm telling you, it was hard to sell.
Man.
But I was eating it though.
How is that a hard sell? You just gotta sell it.
Y'all missing out on the good eating.
Truly.
But yeah, that's how I like to do it. Okra casserole. And then whenever I see it, I just want to order it just to see
How it's
if
done,
people
yeah.
are respecting
Yeah.
the item as it should be. Right? It's almost like seeing your ex-girlfriend.
Back to the
Is he,
romance.
is he, I have a love affair with Gumbo, first of all.
Me too.
But,
Clearly, yeah.
is he treating her right? I need to kind of, I may need to intervene.
No, you love clearly gumbo and its components.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right, Chef Wanda. Okra.
Okra. I was at a family house in Lagos, Nigeria, and I was eating the soup, and I was just like, wow, this tastes like. And I'm like, so Ma, what is it? Is draw soup. Draw soup. I'm like, but it tastes like. And I looked at my friend, I'm like, it tastes like something we know from back home. We're eating it and eating it, and it tastes like gumbo. And it's completely made with okra. Now that's not the soup that the average person would probably eat because it was definitely drawing it up.
Yeah.
There's lots of velocity.
Yes.
But I didn't mind that because I was so into that flavor and it was hitting that gumbo memory.
Yeah.
And my taste buds, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I grew up with the okra and tomatoes in one house, the okra tomatoes and corn in another house, the okra tomatoes and sausage in another family house. I grew up with gumbo always had okra in it. And I also grew up with whole okra being with black eyed peas on New Year's.
Oh, wow.
New Year's, yeah.
And until getting out of the, eating at other people's house and hearing about the slime, I'm like, slime, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And even like Chef Dante said, commercially, I can make okra and add it to the side. But I'm all about converting people to eating okra. So at my pop-up, I had pickled okra, and they were so into it. And then it was like, well, if you had it pickle, you're going to eat this okra and this gumbo. Or somebody's like, fix me gumbo, I don't want no okra. And I just was like, I was kind of adamant, you're going to have some okra.
You're an
So
okra evangelist.
I thought, like, okay. So this was a client. I made the okra, and I said, yes, I made you some fried okra croutons to put on top of your gumbo. Because a person would eat fried okra.
Right, because it's that crispiness that is the opposite of slime or viscosity, right? So yeah,
So yes, so you have your
genius.
fried okra croutons to put on top of your gumbo.
That's
I
genius.
love how y'all talking about
Oh, you know, chef, I'm like gumbo is love in a bowl, man. I'm like, yeah.
I'll say one thing. There's a local chef. His name is Tracy Dixon, and Tracy's been cooking for a long time. And anyone that knows Mr. Dixon, he does this dish. His folks are from Texas. He does this dish. It's black eyed peas and okra, and I'm telling you, it is.
I gotta start
It's
having
something.
black eyed peas with okra. I've
something.
not been doing
Yeah.
that.
Over rice. It was every New Year's. That's how the black eyed peas were fixed at our house.
Wow, we did Hop and John, so it was like
Mixed in
on
with
top, cornbread greens, and then just all the Louisiana hot sauce you could put on it. But
It's that okra with the black eye is something.
It is.
yeah, I gotta try that because those are two of my favorite foods.
Same.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna come back to okra. I have a feeling it's gonna permeate
The
this whole
thread.
conversation. Okay, I think we've established that we all make gumbo. Not myself, but these esteemed people. Just quickly, we're gonna talk about roux. In my notes say flour and fat. Used to make a roux. Do you use a roux? I think we've established
Oh,
one
most
day.
definitely.
Yeah.
You do. That's the thing. What tips or family traditions do you follow when you make gumbo? Let's start with Mr. Gumbo.
Yeah. I always tell folks, start with this. Unless you want me kicking down your door, you're rating you on social media, and just being a total jerk. No tomato. Unless no tomato. Unless you're from Texas and you're doing a red gumbo, and that's a very particular thing. No tomato. No tomato.
Is that how you grew up?
That's the law.
You came down off the mountain.
Federal
Federal.
law.
Federal.
77987. Look it up.
There's a penal code.
Federal law. No tomato, no corn.
Okay.
People
Yeah.
putting corn in the gumbo. Give me a one.
It's not really.
We've been talking about it for the last 3 years.
Well, that just takes it from gumbo to a different
Different.
stew, or something, or maybe succotash.
Goulash,
Right?
call it whatever
Yeah.
you want.
But it's not gumbo.
Don't be talking about my wife like that. But yeah, no corn. And then, my biggest thing is, in my opinion, the gumbo's a judgment-free zone, right? If you have a reason why you're putting it in there, then go for it.
Right.
But have some logic.
Yeah.
Just don't be throwing shit in the pot. Like, if you're doing that, then that's a problem, right? And I mean that with all the force of the cuss words. If you just,
He's censoring himself up here. I can hear.
yeah, if you're just doing stuff, then, call it. There's a guy out in Vegas, Blue Magic Kitchen, and he and I love what he does. This brother is truly unique. He says gumbo inspired. He's very intentional.
I like that.
So when we talk about things like the gumbo greens, that's a fad, right?
Yeah.
Wanda's got it on her apron, right? Gumbo's the herbs is a real thing. There's a story behind why Lila Chase made Gumbo's the herbs.
Yeah.
There's 12 different greens. There's a
And
story.
Yeah, and it was still in deference to and with reverence to
Absolutely.
gumbo. Sure.
So gumbo inspired, I think is fine. But I'm always welcoming bowls of gumbo for me to try. So there's requirements, and again, we're talking about the wife. So the roux has got to be a little bit darker than me, right? A little mahogany roux. But I have, Jeff, I'll tell you this. I have considered
Oh,
doing a white gumbo.
okay.
We have no firm. What would a white gumbo?
And it's inspired by what, chef?
Is it
Inspired by
just a
innovation and
blonde
technique.
roux?
A lighter roux, almost similar to kind of like a bechamel or velouté, right?
You tried that though. You had a real light one down at the ferry plaza one time.
Did you
Oh,
like
we
it?
gotta blame the cooks on that one.
It was real light.
Yeah.
Well,
It
now you
happens.
gotta call it
It
again.
happens. But that's my idea. It's like kind of like a velouté, right? Where you're mixing a stock with a roux,
Yeah.
and just something different, right? A little different technique, just to be innovative. But it's still something I'm thinking about, right? Because my thing is we make gumbo a certain way. Over here we have 4 different gumbos, and so I want to keep pushing the boundaries of gumbo, but staying within the confines of being traditional.
Sure.
Yes.
If that makes any sense.
Quick question, what's the fat you use in your roux?
Yeah. So it's
And do you change that up ever?
yeah, good question. So it's 50% butter, 50% oil.
That's awesome.
So those are the two. And the reason why I put butter, people call me rich, but the reason why we do butter is because I like when the butter breaks down and you cook down the milk solids.
Yeah, you get
That
that
caramelization,
nuttiness,
yeah.
from the brown.
Almost like a brown butter, right? So
Yeah.
I like that piece to the roux. And then if you look at the roux, it's kind of speckled throughout the roux when you're making it. The other technique, we cook a lot of chicken, and so the chicken thighs give off a lot of fat.
Yeah.
The,
Cooking it in schmaltz is
the
a
schmaltz, right?
gangster move.
Yeah. but it's flavored though.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
We season the fat, so
absolutely. That is a really good move.
we have a lot of fat that
Yeah.
we over the course of 100 cases of chicken thighs,
Yeah.
and so we've made a roux with that fat, and I tell you,
That sounds incredible.
Like just the fat, just the chicken fat as the fat.
chicken
Right.
fat, the roasted pork fat, the whatever
right? You
fats.
guys have the pork belly on?
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
And so the thing is, people are very particular because we do a turkey gumbo, smoked turkey gumbo, and that has no pork in it. So those are for the folks who don't want any red meat, folks who don't want to touch the porks, the porks.
Yeah.
So we kind of have to be very strategic with the roux. And then we have the vegan roux. The vegan roux is just oil and flour, but
And that's kind of the traditional like roux method anyway, is
Yeah.
just for oil and flour. Yeah.
yeah.
That's how
So that's kind of where we take it. But we when we have that animal fat roux, it's tricky because you got to freeze it because if you don't remove all of the moisture from the fat, it can spoil the roux. Roux typically don't spoil because it's just fat, it's just oil and flour.
Yeah.
And typically you're good to go if you keep it in a right temperature place. But if you don't remove all of that fat, the liquid from the fat, animal fat, you will spoil that roux.
And that just makes me sad.
Yeah.
So a lot of energy goes into that.
Yeah, and that was what I was going to get to with regard to your question about roux and like how you were like if we have strong opinions about it. I was brought up like with my mom and her and my aunts kind of arguing about who makes the best gumbo, and it was based on roux making, like
The difference.
yeah, who had the endurance to take it as far as it could without it burning. It was like very much a measure of like, their skill overall in the kitchen. And it was very much a source of contest for them. Like, I did burn my roux, or I got it to start because I couldn't without burning. And
Are they sisters?
yeah, these are my mom and her sister.
And her sister.
Yeah, my aunts.
Right.
Yeah, and then also our next door neighbor, Karen Gill, she got in on it once.
How'd it turn out?
Karen's was,
She made
everyone's was good in its own way, but I do think a darker roux gumbo is better. There's something about the ritual, the attention, the intention to watching that roux, making sure it doesn't burn, keeping it moving. I enjoy the intentionality of that, and just, and it is a ritual. It's a method that's been passed down.
multi-tap. You
No,
have to- you're making
no.
your own-
And each step requires attention, right? Like the proteins have to cook separately if you want them to cook well. And so yeah, I remember that, and it was all playful. But it was just mostly
serious.
but also serious because we all wanted good gumbo, you know, and it's like, who could get it there without it burning? Because you know, it's very much a method to making sure the roux gets a deep mahogany without scorching in any part or anything like that. And you know, people like these fine chefs to my left and right might think of it as just, you know, second nature, but it is something that I myself have to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Oh, no, I'll be focusing on that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? That's not, like it requires it.
Wait,
you know?
Christina, do you have a
Demands it.
standard or something that you compare the color of? You're saying the darkness, but
The mahogany
Dante-
is a very
Dante said
good.
mahogany.
Yeah, that's a very good reference point,
Yeah.
and it's such a beautiful color.
yeah.
It's like
use my
ox blood. Yeah, it's like it's.
A friend of mine's a
absolutely-
bartender who makes Manhattans, and he likes the Manhattan to be the color of the bar,
Oh,
the
huh.
wood on the bar.
Huh.
Like, that's cool.
Does it taste good? Good. As long as it
That's a
tastes.
different panel. We'll get to this. All right, Chef Wanda, roux.
Well, I got so caught up. So, can you repeat the question?
Oh, it's just your own family traditions and how you make roux, what you look for in a roux, what you put in a roux.
So,
Which aunt makes the best? Or
That's my question.
my mother was not a roux person,
Oh, okay.
and that's fine. I take after grandma.
Mhm.
And grandma's roux was butter and flour. And for me, that nutty flavor, like I like to eat roux.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
So while it's cooking, I could be take the taste, just that nutty, buttery flavor of it. It's like a butter cookie
yeah.
without sugar. I mean, you know. So roux is very important to me. The color of it, I don't go for the dark roux because I don't have that level of patience. But I would say my roux is kind of in between in here somewhere.
This is still patient.
Either the top or the
But
bottom
see,
of your
but I'm
eye.
also gonna put a little filet in my gumbo, so I
Keep that
have.
along
So
there.
people be like, "Oh, she got a nice dark roux in there, and I got a little filet in there to blend it out." So the roux is definitely a must-have. Now, for me, the thing with the roux was meeting people who could not eat gluten. And so in thinking, just like Chef has really put himself out there for these different variances to go with different people, when my friend from New Orleans said, I can't eat gumbo, I'm like, what do you mean? I can't eat anything with flour. Oh, you can't eat roux?
Yeah. You
I
don't
was
even think of it,
deeply
yeah.
concerned for this friend of mine.
Yeah.
So concerned that I researched, like, okay, so you got this, what, tapioca flour? And I'm like, but then it was like sweet rice flour. Because the sweetness in that rice will help it turn that color. And doing that, and I was just like, oh yeah. So I made it, actually put it in my luggage, and I went to see her in New Orleans, and she's like, okay, I'm gonna make this gumbo for you. And she's like, did you really make a gluten-free roux?
That's
I'm like,
that's
for
a really
you-
good friend.
Yeah,
You are a
because she
friend.
introduced me to a lot of New Orleans style cooking. And so when I do it commercially, that's the roux that I make. So now I'm getting the gumbo money of the person who's gluten free because I want their money.
Yeah.
So I got those people.
So
taken
you
care
turned
of.
that into your roux? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the roux that
Oh,
I
sweet
made.
rice.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
How is a roux-less gumbo like thickened or?
Because my mother always did okra.
Okay.
Right.
So
and
she would saute that.
Right, but
and
I
work
could,
around that.
but I could, like my mother's gumbo was just as good as grandma, but that taste of that roux. And if I'm eating anybody's gumbo, that's the taste
Yeah, and you can zero in on it now.
that I'm
yeah.
looking for is that nutty flavor that comes from the roux. So I'm looking for that.
That's great.
The no tomato thing. the corn, because I saw an interview where this person was totally embarrassed by Chef Leah Chase by putting corn in their gumbo. And I take that to also be like Chef was saying, people are doing different things, but you think about when you're making big pot food and extending it to large families. To me, the corn was actually an extender, or the corn was added for the kids and stuff like that. But no.
And gumbo itself is an extension meal, right? Like kind of stretch product for a large
group.
Exactly.
And so no corn. You have to have rice with gumbo.
Yeah, agree.
We're gonna come to that.
Yes, you have to. Yes. So that's a must thing, and
Not just in the root, you're saying.
no, and because we talk about like the no tomato thing.
Yeah.
And technically speaking, if you don't have okra, it's technically not called gumbo because that's the base of the word.
Yeah.
And but I work with the public and the community, and if you don't want okra, because when you're doing it bowl by bowl, you can add the components and bring it together.
Why you
and
make it
nice.
nice?
Well, so when you chef, you got turkey gumbo over there. You got this gumbo.
Got the vegan gumbo?
See, you got the vegan gumbo. And
People give me a hard time.
Do you have a gluten-free gumbo?
But see,
I direct them to the red beans and rice.
Exactly.
Go to the red beans.
Perfectly happy.
But see, that's how I took care of the gluten-free with the roux. How I took care of the vegan and the vegetarians, because I always made gumbo the herbs,
Yeah.
which is made with a vegetable stock, and it's all greens, and so that's how I got their money. And I had a couple.
Do you go roux in the Z herbs?
But see, adding those components.
Yeah.
So then it's like, oh no, I want vegan, so they didn't have roux in theirs, but it was sticking with the okra.
Right. Yeah.
It was
And
sticking
then
with
even the
okra.
other greens themselves.
Right. So it had that balance to it.
This is some deep gumbo talk. I love it. I love it. We're going to move on to the second section of our talk tonight, gumbo ingredients, which we definitely talked about, but cultural exchange, which I think we've touched on it a little bit, but I think it's a big part of gumbo. I think gumbo, there's all sorts of foods that have traveled and migrated with people, but gumbo, it's the national dish. It's like, all right.
It's going to be at the end of the night.
Well, yeah. Okay, so looking at the key ingredients of gumbo, okra, seafood, and rice, what do you think they say about the different cultures that came together to create the dish? And do any of you have a favorite ingredient that you add to your gumbo? We've touched on that a little bit.
Yeah.
But let's dig into that.
Yeah.
Start with you, Wanda.
My favorite ingredient is the filet.
Okay.
And
Is it gumbo without filet for you?
no, the filet kind of goes with the okra for me. And you could have the choice, like I put in enough for coloring, but I always add more to my bowl on the side. And a chef had said, well, I talked to so-and-so and they said, you don't need filet in gumbo. And I was like, first off, you don't talk about one chef telling you something else about another chef. And that guy is from South Carolina, so he's not fixing the same gumbo that I'm fixing. But what other seasoning has only one distinct place? Is filet.
Yeah, it was created for.
It was created for that.
Yeah.
Even though I have been thinking about some filet chicken wings.
Ooh.
And like seeing where else I could go.
taste.
I'm also secondarily available.
So I have some thoughts about other things to do with filet because it's a fabulous seasoning. But that's my number one love is the filet.
All right, Christina, any secret or special touches that ingredients or touches that
I don't know that it's secret or special. Like I just am kind of gluttonous when it comes to what to add. So I like chicken, sausage, and shrimp.
Okay.
I'm generally just trying to get a perfect bite of all of those things at once. I do agree that filet or sassafras is an underrated seasoning. It's on par with like mushroom powder, anything that you would use to add like umami flavor or definitely flavor. But I did grow up not using it. My grandmothers and aunts just used okra. So I'd be interested to experiment more with filet and understand that product just more intrinsically as a chef. But crab, I also like in my gumbo when I'm feeling a little indulgent. I know that might take it somewhere else, and then it kind of ends up. Some of those ingredients are so interesting because it's like you could look at a dish like cioppino or like paella and kind of separate out the components and end up with a similar kind of cultural milieu of what came together to make that dish. So I think that kind of like is something fun for me to like nerd out on and zone in on, because these dishes kind of mimic each other,
There's a lot. They're like cousins.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
So, honestly, in terms of ingredients that are secret or special, I try to add as much seafood as I can, and then everything else too.
Crab, local crab, or does it matter?
Oh, I mean, again, I'm from Chicago, and I've been in the Bay Area for 9 years now, and I'm proud to say this is now my forever home. What you guys have access to here is kind of overwhelming. It's like, it's so special, it's so seasonal, it's so local, and it's certainly so sustainable, but absolutely local Dutchess crab.
I'm hoping that heat recently didn't screw up crab season because it should be coming up.
Or like January.
Or just all the
December,
everything that's happening in the world doesn't screw up
Well,
crab
passion
season.
fruit got here early because of the heat, but anyway,
Everything is nice.
and I'm grateful.
Usually
I
it's
like that idea.
November, right? Usually
Yeah, November
Yeah,
is usually that's
yeah.
when it's. Yeah.
But it might be too warm, you might be right, I don't know. But it was cold at Maple Beach, so never mind, anyway.
Rabbit cross our fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, every ingredient is unique, in my opinion. Everything from the onion, all the way to, we got a great farmer that does these Laurel Bay Laurel bay leaves.
His only, oh wow, you
You
get
know what I'm
those
saying?
sorts
And
lovely.
I'm telling you, so when we first opened the
So
restaurant,
great.
we were hanging these fresh bay leaves, and I'm telling you,
It also smells.
The smell, yeah.
if you want to know what heaven, when you walk into the doors of heaven, when the big guy opens the
It's gonna
gates,
be Bay Laurel.
that's how heaven smells.
But that's what I mean. You
Yeah.
guys are like just so lucky here. I mean, we have like cherries and corn in the Midwest and some other stuff probably, but
And deep dish.
but like, I've just been
And
on.
Kanye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is. We don't know who you're talking about. But I've been hiking in the Berkeley Hills and just come upon, pink peppercorn and bay laurel and passion fruit. Like this is just growing on the streets here, So that you get to work with a local purveyor, something as like, kind of small as the bay leaf that flavors the broth. That's so special.
Yeah,
So.
I think that's to me is the most important piece. Is just having proximity to good ingredients.
Yes.
But at the same time, every component is special.
You're right. Yeah.
We put time in our gumbo. Some people give a shit for that, but the French thyme that we use, it adds this flavor to the gumbo that it perfumes it in a way that makes it really unique. And I'm not just making gumbo over here. We make 40 gallons at a time. So
Wow.
we're
That is wild.
we're producing a lot of product.
8 gallons almost killed me.
That's wild.
So the idea,
A pot almost kills me.
so my idea is that like every time we make the gumbo, like we have and I know I'm kind of romanticizing it, but you have the
That's your
opportunity.
girlfriend or wife.
That's the wife.
Yeah, that's your
Is
wife.
to make this dish every week or twice a week or 3 times a week. And I'm like making the gumbo with a smile on my face, no matter what the situation is. But every ingredient is super important. Everything from the peppers to
That's true too. When I see you at the market, you guys even there on site when you're not even in your home base kitchen, and having to cook in the wild, as I like to describe it, when we're when we're popping up, you are, you just seem delighted and
Yeah.
are in your
Very
element.
I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy. And like right now, I'm just over here cheesing because you're talking about gumbo.
Yes, very.
Your girl.
But yeah, every component to me is special.
No favorite kid.
No, I will say that this conversation has provoked the thought of maybe putting some uni or Sierra Chills gumbo.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna explode. That sounds incredible.
And
Say
so,
when.
and so you, the question you asked earlier was about proximity, and I think the ingredients, what you have available to you, is what makes the gumbo, right? Because there's a duck gumbo, there's a rabbit gumbo, there's a pheasant gumbo, there's all these different variations of the dish, but it's all about proximity.
Yeah.
Where you're at, what's in season, all of those different things. And so that piece is important as well. But in our case, when we're talking about black folk and crab or shrimp, the idea is that those items are always in the gumbo. But if you're from Louisiana, you don't even know what a Dungeness crab is because Dungeness crab are not in the Gulf of Mexico.
Right.
You have blue crab.
You got blue crab.
That Gulf shrimp though.
Yeah, Gulf shrimp.
Yeah.
Or Louisiana
That's
white
the
shrimp,
best
right?
shrimp.
Yeah. So you have to
If
turn
you're
it
in
off.
Florida, you got pink shrimp, right? There's all these different kind of things that are unique about that area. Crawfish is another great example.
Right.
Although there is crawfish in Sacramento now.
Yeah, in the Delta.
Yeah.
Because there's a it's right there. Yeah.
So,
That's
but
awesome.
yeah, that's kind of my take.
All right. For those of you, let me go back. Many people say gumbo's ingredients tell a story of migration and blending cultures. Have you ever tried a dish that made you think of your family's cultural roots or history? We'll start with you, Christina.
Absolutely. My family is Southern and Caribbean. And the Caribbean part is from Dominican Republic and Trinidad and Tobago. And I mean, Trinidad is just, but all of the Caribbean is like kind of the middle point where a lot of us were left before we got, to the Americas. And by us, I mean American descendants of enslaved people. But in Trinidad and Tobago in particular, it's a immediate clash, or not a clash, but a crash, and then a blend of African and Indian food. And so the curries there at once, kind of representative of like curries that you might find in West and North Africa, and then kind of blended with staples of Indian cuisine like naan or paratha, or basa bread too. But yeah, so our curries are very much representative of like cultures crashing into each other and then immediately kind of holding hands and
I love that.
celebrating each other. Yeah.
Chef Wanda?
My cultural blend on my mother's side is Arkansas. And a lot of people don't talk about food from Arkansas, and that's okay. We are silently the best barbecue people, and the oldest barbecue place in the United States is still open in Arkansas. Just saying.
Wow.
My
grandfather was.
But the migration of Arkansas coming into California, I think that's where my cultural roots were, because I grew up with a family from New Orleans across the street. I grew up with a family next door that was from Austin, Texas. I grew up with another family who was from West Texas. And I was with all of those mothers, seeing what they were doing and seeing the comparison of the amount of liquid that's in West Texas greens versus the amount of liquid in my mother's greens, the amount of gravy that's in the beans of Texas versus the amount of gravy in the beans. So I had these comparisons, but on top of that, I'm a native of San Francisco. So, and my mother, totally blessed, because a lot of families didn't get to eat out. We went to Chinatown and ate Chinese food.
Yeah.
We went to the Mission, and my mother was ordering tongue tacos.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's
And then we had the Jewish delis we went to. So my full culture, when I talk about food, it's really San Francisco. Because all of those together, along with the southern part, blends all together for me. And then, you know, the explosion of all the Asian foods here. I mean, I thought Cantonese was just it. Here comes Hunan, Shaswan,
Laotian. I mean, seriously, absolutely,
Vietnamese, Thai,
So
like,
true. Yeah, great point.
you know, I just have this full culture explosion of foods that now you got people making oxtail egg rolls and you know, yams and greens egg rolls, and you know, and so I just have this full, and I never liked the word melting pot. It's a salad.
I was gonna say the mixed salad.
It's a salad because it's all fresh.
Yeah,
It's
and
all
supposed
natural,
to be
and it
itself
retains
too.
its
Yeah,
So it
Yeah,
all,
exactly.
you know, it all comes together. And even though I had the Asian curry growing up, but now I'm totally into the African curry and the Caribbean curry and the, you know, and the jerk, and just, I'm just full.
I mean, we're so lucky just listening to you. I'm like, wow, all of this that
And it's that West Coast thing.
Yeah.
But also learning that in that migration, Texas and Louisiana were the biggest migrations to come to California of African Americans.
Right.
So when some years back I meet chefs from South Carolina, and they're like, what you know about black food? I'm like, oh, California ain't nothing but lettuce. I'm like, wait a minute. wait a minute.
Yeah, they lied to you. Yeah.
We're still talking chopped salad. Yeah.
Right. You know,
We
but
like
it's
avocados.
but you know, that history thing, it's like the divide of Texas and Louisiana migrating to California. Then you had Atlanta and Georgia and those people going
Alabama,
up
yeah.
north, and have somebody raised in Philly say she don't know nothing about rice. I'm like, because they didn't want to think about rice when they went north, because that was a
They forgot
southern
about that.
thing.
They want to leave it behind.
That was
So
also-
really
yeah.
learning about the culture of where we migrated
That's so
and where foods went up north and how the difference is, but the base is southern.
Yeah.
And it's fixed so many different ways. You say, oh, I'll fix it this way. I'm like, okay, is that Texas? Is it Louisiana? Is it South Carolina?
And often it'll tell you without even, having to ask.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because that Kansas City barbecue is definitely from the Texas barbecue. That's the idea.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, you got white barbecue sauce. I'm not going to say nothing.
Alabama, though, right?
That is Alabama.
Yeah. I know this panel's not about me. I am from Texas, and I love Texas barbecue. I want to try it, Arkansas, now you said that.
Yeah,
But
me
there's a new place in town. I don't know if anyone's heard about this. I'm not sure if they're quite open yet. Called Smokin'
They
D's.
are.
Are they open? They have a Texas brisket bao. So like a
What?
like Chinese. Yeah.
Well, have you heard of Fixed Q too? That's the Malaysian style barbecue that's in Alameda, but it's coming to the cities.
No.
See,
It's absolutely
Yeah,
insane.
Yeah, give me some brisket
Yeah.
on anything.
Yeah, I'm like, I'll take any
Brisket
side.
in like
A
a
bao
Chinese
bao.
bao. And I was like,
I think the motto is
Smoking D's
is
or something?
Smoking D's barbecue. It's
in the sun.
Texas barbecue in the bun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sounds-
Damn.
I haven't had it yet.
Favorite barbecue.
Yeah.
Love. What's your favorite?
Oh, Smoking D's.
Oh, you've had
That's
it.
my guy.
Okay.
I love Smoking D's.
Oh, his name's Dane.
Yeah,
Got it. Okay.
we've been together, but
We'll have to talk offline.
they're
Yeah, we need to stop.
And I just need to try it.
I need the address.
All right, Chef. I know it's been a minute, but let's get back
Yeah.
to the question real fast.
I want you.
Where are we?
I would say.
Have you ever tried a dish that made you think of your family's cultural roots? Or
Yeah, I would say saag paneer and Persian stews. And I think a lot of my cooking is influenced by people I've worked with. Right, our current chef is Peruvian, right, and a lot of the dishes that he makes, we're always having a conversation like in the Somo Lotado, like why is there soy sauce in this? And we having this conversation about the ingredients, right? We're having a conversation about the ceviches.
Yeah.
And the people I worked with always influence the cooking style. And so one of the guys I worked with was Persian. I can remember, he used to call me Poppy. Like, Poppy, we call everybody Poppy at this point. He's like, Poppy, the gumbo. Can I get some of the gumbo? We make the gumbo for him. He's like, I want you to try this Persian stew. And he's like, the Persian stew has lamb, it has this, it has sabzi. I'm like, sabzi? What's that? Sauzi means greens, and it reminds me of a gumbo's herbs. But the components, there's black lime, there's all these flavors there that takes these Persian stews to the next level. He's like, when I'm eating your gumbo, it reminds me of being back in Iran.
Wow.
Right? Just without the pork, obviously.
Yeah.
But those proximities of ingredients, our California greens, folks that are Southern Indian will say this reminds them of a sock, paneer, right? Without the paneer, right? This is delicious. Yeah. And so the cooking style in the not only the stewing component, but the ingredients, the technique, and then it makes the product more approachable. They say, "Oh, this." I always tell people, in my opinion, gumbo is like a Mexican pozole, but better. I love a good pozole.
Yeah, oh, me too. Yeah,
But I want to give people ideas of proximity to other dishes. They may be familiar with them, so they say, "Oh, that makes sense. Let me try that." Right, or menudo, like oh, that makes sense. That's close to what this dish could be. So they start to kind of mentally understand what the flavors can be.
I love that. I've heard it said that every culture, the worldwide cultures, have a dumpling.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
And now I'm starting to think the thing that we call gumbo might also be true with that. Like our Persian stew, we talked about cipino or paella. I think of paella,
of course,
different, but similar. And probably the foodways all cross each other.
Let me give you a fun idea about
chowder in New England.
Boom.
You know?
One of the things that we do the corn hoe cakes, which is essentially
I can't wait to have the nachos.
a griddle cornbread, right? And so, the reason why I wanted to make sure that dish made it to the menu and stayed consistent was that when I go online, every culture has their version of a flatbread, a roti, or the chive pancake, whatever, pizza, right? And I'm like, we need, culture-wise, we need to put the whole cake out there.
Nice.
So we change up the whole cakes. We do a seasonal whole cake, or putting ingredients into the whole cake.
Yeah.
My goal is to make the whole cake the next kind of that flatbread piece.
Okay.
Why wait 45 minutes for the cornbread when you can have it in 2 minutes on the grill?
Yeah.
Oh, I hard agree.
I'm good with that, Chef.
We have something like similar called Juanito cakes on our menu, and we just tried to make them a little bit more Caribbean with some soft herbs like culantro, if we can get it, or cilantro, and jalapenos, and then like fresh corn in the summer. But absolutely on the griddle, cornbread is it. Like that. I'm like, why are we waiting for it to bake? You fry it in butter, it'll be ready. It's ready,
I'm ready for both of those.
Yeah,
Even though cornbread
I'm not
is one of my
kidding.
main things, but I could go for that too.
Both, yeah.
Shout out to the corn hoe cakes.
Yeah, I could stay on cornbread for like an hour, but okay, we've touched on rice and rice as a component of the gumbo, but let's dig in. If you grew up with rice as a staple in your meals, does it have a special meaning in your family's cooking traditions? So we're talking about not just with gumbo, but rice in general. Let's start with you, Mr. Gumbo.
Yeah, I am absolutely terrible at cooking rice.
At cooking, you said?
At rice.
Cooking, okay.
I cannot cook rice.
Small or large?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Terrible. I can make risotto, cannot cook rice.
Wow. That is interesting.
Yeah, I know it's weird. It's the weirdest thing.
because
No,
risotto's
I feel you. I feel you on that.
Well, I've been wondering if you're human, so this just proves that. You do have one flaw.
They call me 99% Dante.
That's the 1%.
That's funny.
So I would say, rice. Rice was, we used to have rice with a lot of the meals, but jasmine rice, I love it. My sister's name is Jasmine. So I love jasmine rice. Thai jasmine rice is my favorite.
It's so well perfumed.
And then Carolina Gold rice is
our
it's
legacy.
a real thing.
Yeah.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it there.
Rice is a staple. Rice and I grew up with a lot of other households where rice, you could have potatoes if you want, but Grandpa was like, I still need to have my rice. It took me a long time to learn how to cook rice. When my mother would just put it in a pot, do the measure, take the top off, do the fork thing. Until I got into culinary school and was cooking in the oven, I couldn't. And my relatives talked bad about me that I went to culinary school and I could not cook rice. Rice at this point for me is my complete zen. To wash rice in my hands in the water is just like, it's the
Until
most
it runs.
relaxing thing. It's in comparison to making roux.
Yeah.
Because that intentionally washing that rice, but it's definitely a staple. I absolutely detest instant rice.
Yeah.
Uncle Ben's, if y'all don't know what I'm talking about, if I'm at a restaurant and I taste that instant rice, it totally blows the whole dish.
Are you talking about converted rice?
Converted rice, Uncle Ben. Yeah, but see, when we grew up, it was Uncle Ben. Converted rice, I can't. It's just, it's a sin.
Yeah.
And I can tell right off the bat because it does not absorb.
As is jarred roux, by the way. But maybe we got.
Yeah, it doesn't absorb the flavors.
No, you're right.
Yeah, and my favorite now is to put a bay leaf and some olive oil when I cook my rice to bring out the flavor.
So you start with oil and a bay leaf and then rice on top of that with the water?
No, the bay leaf and the oil goes in the water with the rice. So the aroma of the bay leaf and the oil blends into. Yeah.
I've had it with a little bit of like lightly minced garlic.
That's how I do mine. Yeah.
But rice it's sacred.
I could not agree more. And in fact, my partner can attest. I have thrown away batches of rice if they're not. I have such a specific texture preference too for it, but. I think I got stuck in my head once a quote from Erica Badger who said you can tell a lot about a bitch by the way she cooked rice. And I was like, I want whatever you can tell about me to be that I can cook rice. So it's something that I've just like tried to dial in, and I've had to figure out how to scale it up too for when we're doing catering jobs and stuff like that. And I've learned some cool in the oven methods, but nothing works better than a rondo for me, like in large quantities for just a 2-quart saucepan or something. If I'm making it just for me and my family, but yeah, I fry washed rice in oil with some garlic and salt, and then I toast the rice in that. And then, do the finger method, and somehow it works. It's weird because everybody's finger is a different length, but somehow it works.
Yeah.
They say how you measure rice. That's
right up here.
Above,
and it doesn't matter whose finger it is. It works. It's wild.
This is why I think I just discovered this is why I like making paella, because you're supposed to burn it.
Yeah. Oh, the socarat.
I love that shit.
Socarat gets fought over in Spanish town, so that's the.
Now we like the crispy rice. I like that rice too.
Yeah, and it's the same thing in Persian rice dishes. It's a fried rice. I think it's called tade.
There's the basmati rice.
She's making rice with her mom.
Yeah,
With the
crispy rice. Yeah.
Yes. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Crispy rice.
Shout out to the Persian culture.
Yeah.
So delicious.
And shout out to rice, man.
Shout out
That's a whole bunch of
I'm getting a rice tattoo and an okra tattoo.
They're gonna be hanging out together.
Just a grain of rice.
It'll look like a mole.
Oh, right, that's tricky.
I'll say the last thing about rice is, Chef J.J. Johnson has a great book.
Yes.
A great book right now on rice.
It's just rice. Oh, I gotta get that
Talking
book.
about
That
rice.
book is
J.J.
great.
I
Johnson,
need that book.
phenomenal chef.
Everything about rice.
Wow. That's a great book. I gotta get it. Yeah.
All right, I don't want to move on, but let's move on to the third part, different styles of gumbo. There are many different ways to make gumbo, from seafood to sausage to chicken. How many of you have tried more than one type? Okay, well, we're taking you out.
Likely he's tried more than one.
I think you've all done that, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't like to choose favorites, but for the sake of conversation, Chef Wanda, what is your favorite symphony of ingredients and everything?
See, that's the part. It's the symphony.
Yeah.
Everything add something.
Because I love gumbo, but it's the symphony of making it that I really like the most.
Do you like making it more than you like eating it?
Actually, I do.
Okay, there we go.
Because all the different pieces and parts and components, and my new thing now is to put chicken feet in the oven and roast it and use the chicken feet to make my stock.
And you get that collagen.
And the friend that I did the gluten-free roux for, we'll never forget, she had chicken feet in her oven.
No gluten in the chicken feet.
She had chicken feet in her oven. See, I got so caught up in that, like I forgot your question.
What's your favorite style?
My favorite style. Okay.
Yeah.
So currently now, I would say Gumbo the Herbs is my favorite.
Wow.
And you're going to a gumbo competition in Bay St. Louis, which is like, Bay St. Louis is like the Sausalito to New Orleans.
Across the water.
Yes. And I'm going around and I'm like, okay, so we got alligator gumbo, we got a duck gumbo. I mean, I seen roux as black as this chair.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, I'm authentic, I'm doing Gumbo the Herbs.
And you're like,
There were 3 other people that did Gumbo the Herbs. And I beat them.
oh, that's great.
And
Amazing.
the reason why it's my favorite is because of the greens. Because I am the green maker in my family. Like, to bust down a case of green takes me like no time. And so it's a dish where the type of greens have to be in 3s. It's either 3 types, 6 types, 7 types. It has the religious piece of it, that it was made so that Catholics could have gumbo on the Good Friday. My total mentor of Louisiana cooking is Leah Chase, that even after I won the gumbo competition, I actually went to her gravesite and said thank you.
That's amazing.
Just the whole component of all the different greens. That culturally, you might cook turnips and mustards together, but where you gonna have a pot of greens where you got spinach and turnips and collards? But then that also includes watercress. It also includes watercress. And so I believe that's my current favorite. And it could have shrimp. It could have sausage, like Leah Chase makes, and she has meat in hers. But for me, I don't put any meat in. I want it to stay very distinct as this gumbo made of the green.
So vegetarian and gluten-free?
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe vegan even.
Yeah.
Oh no, unless you do that.
I'm just gonna say healthy gumbo.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Doctor approved gumbo.
Yeah. So I would say that's my favorite one to make right now.
Okay.
And it put me on the map. I'm the girl from Oakland who won the gumbo competition for this style
That's amazing.
with all the Louisiana people.
Bring it
So
back home.
yes,
That's real. Way to go.
yeah.
All right, Christina.
My favorite gumbo, hands down, is anyone in a bowl. But
With a spoon for me.
yeah, but if I had to choose, it's seafood gumbo. I love when seafood's been treated well, and when a seafood stock has been treated well. You take, if you have it in you to take the shells off of whatever seafood you're using, roast them, I just like method. And seafood is a really good opportunity to showcase method and technique, and when it is done well, it is just excellent. When the texture of every seafood that you're using is elevated and is as it should be. I love seafood gumbo.
We talked about crab.
Yeah, crab, shrimp. Yeah,
Any
exactly.
others?
No, but I guess my family's maybe put baby scallops in or something like that, and just made it their own in homage to gumbo. But honestly, I'm happy with shrimp and crab gumbo. It's absolutely delicious.
All right.
Yeah.
Mr. Gumbo.
Classic chicken and sausage. That's where I like to go. And again, it's really out of respect for people who have dietary restrictions. I think that's a good base. But seafood gumbo is always, once you add that crab in there, it takes the flavor to another level.
A whole nother level.
Yeah,
It's the
seafood
sweetness,
side,
the
yeah.
succulence. It's
The smell of it, right?
Yes. It feels like you're getting a treat, you know, like you're just about to be.
Yeah. The flavor profile is truly unique. The thing about it is that when you have that seafood stock in there, you know you have to kind of take care of that pot a little differently.
Yeah.
Right? So you can't play with the temperatures and you have to be a little bit more intentional. But for me, it's just that chicken and sausage gumbo.
It's a fail-safe.
That down home, you know, that pot, right? That pot.
Yeah.
I can put some stuff in there, you're good to go. Yep.
Love it.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we move on to the last section, quick poll. We touched on this a little bit, but let's just do like a lightning round if we can, real fast. Quick poll. How many of you prefer gumbo with filet powder? Maybe hands? Okay, on the fence. But you said you have it for folks to put on there.
Yeah.
Dante Jr.?
Yeah?
Yes.
He's a yes.
Ziante? No.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're
I mean, I feel like because I wasn't raised with it, I just did it the way, you know, my grandma and aunts taught me. So
Right.
I would be very interested to learn more about sassafras and it's, you know.
maybe the next talk.
Yeah, exactly. That my hand will go up. Yeah. Definitely.
Okay, same question. How many prefer gumbo with okra? We've touched on this, but let's get a show of
It's all
hands. I think
okra.
all of us,
Definitely.
yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Just okra on everything.
About everything.
In everything, on everything. Okay, we're taking you out of this round. Cover your ears with tomatoes. Oh, we're getting frowns. No, just no all around.
Just no. I mean, I know it's a style, right? I think it's
I've
like
had it.
Creole versus
Yeah,
Cajun or
right,
something like that. It's
But I
original,
heard those
but-
Creole people say no to tomatoes. Because
somebody's
for years
lying
I
on
thought
that.
it was.
Yeah.
But I have an expert Creole person in
And they say no
my circle, and she says, "You say no to tomatoes."
Then there
That's
it
my
is.
authority.
Done. Stop. We're
She
just
got
stop throwing Creole
generations right
folks
there.
under the.
Yes,
Fair enough. No tomatoes. I think that's
On the back of my head, all I heard is Kunyon, Kunyon.
All right, we're going to wrap it up with the last section, which is the topic is gumbo today. So we've talked about what we do, and we've talked about the evolution, but like, where is gumbo and where is it going? Gumbo is a dish that has stood the test of time. That's true. Even in tough periods of slavery and migration. How do you see food as a way for people to stay connected to their culture or history? Any personal examples? I think it's your turn to start.
Yeah, I'll say the state of gumbo today is ever increasing. The reason why we're here is to make gumbo America's national dish. And when we talked on the podcast, 2 years ago, the question I had to you was, what is America's national dish? And that item, although I love a good burger, I love a good smash burger. Shout out to McDonald's for making burgers a thing, but
Boom. McDonald's trash.
that was a blow.
But I want to be explicit.
Yeah, but my point for folks is that gumbo is a thing that deserves to be memorialized
Hard agree.
amongst the people.
Yeah.
Right, no matter what culture, race, creed, it doesn't matter. Right, gumbo doesn't see no sexuality. It doesn't care if you're broke. It doesn't care if you're rich. When you're eating the bowl of gumbo amongst the people, everyone's on the same playing field, right? So if you rolling into Gumbo Social with a bunch of money, yeah, you can get all of the add-ons, but you're also sitting next to the person who orders a $13 bowl, right? And everyone's on the same playing field. That's the thing I like about the dish. That's where I think it is today. It is the food of the people. There are ways to make it more healthy. There's some ways to make it gluttonous. There's these variations of it that makes the dish unique. And then it also can be unique to you. But the driver that I want to put to people is that gumbo
as America's national dish.
That's it.
If I may,
We got you on the team.
yeah,
On the Gumbo team.
I'm on it. Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. By the way, if I can just piggyback off of that sentiment, I agree. Everyone loves a burger, but it's so sterile. It's not. It's not actually representative of what these United States were or are or will be, right? And a dish like gumbo that's so representative of African influences, Native American, and then even the colonizers from France and Spain, but coming together, to make a dish that's representative of the people who eat it. Mm-hmm. A hamburger is not necessarily that. And so, yeah, I got my vote for national dish, and I just hope that there can be a return to method and reverence, because I do see a lot of like social media trends with these foods that require ritual and method. I've seen a lot of gumbo fries or gumbo egg rolls or gumbo hoagies or whatever, and I'm like, that's cool, but can you make gumbo?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Can
you actually make gumbo? Like, yeah, you took all these components of a thing that require a lot of time, and you made it fast and more gluttonous somehow. But also show me the other one. So yeah, I'm like, I see, and don't get me wrong, I have an item on my menu. It's an oxtail Philly patty, but I take 3 days to make those oxtails. I'm not like I'm behind on orders as we speak, as I sit in this chair.
Which is close to a regular Jamaican patty, though.
Exactly,
it's not too far.
Exactly,
From
and I'm not like shortcutting it with like pre-shredded oxtail, whatever that is. I don't even know if it exists, but I'm not just trying to make a thing for a gimmick.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's still
keeping it tradition.
yeah, and I know. I mean, social media is very youth-based, and so maybe they'll grow into it or something. But I've seen people my age acting really crazy online with food, and I just hope it comes back to a little bit more method and intention.
Valor system.
Yeah.
Shout out to people growing into food.
Yeah, grow into food, into method.
Yeah. It's time to be an adult.
Yeah, grow up and cook.
Make gumbo the right way. Make gumbo the right way.
Right. Find out.
Chef Wanda.
Gumbo today.
Gumbo today. Yes, I've been on social media and I've seen some things. And
Gumbo nachos.
And sometimes I have to be like, don't go there, Wanda. Back away from the cell phone. And then other days I'm like,
how dare you do this?
This is the base. This is the tradition. I'm cool with what you're doing, but do you know the base? Putting collard greens in your gumbo is not, there is actually a gumbo history of greens. It has a tradition, it has a base. And for me, it's a mission to be on what is the cultural history of our food. And that's what, for me, I think today, is constantly what is the history? What is the cultural base? Because generationally, that pot of gumbo is not being passed on.
Yeah.
Gumbo in a restaurant? Who are with, you got gumbo at somebody's house back in the day. So here you have this man who's got a gumbo restaurant that's bringing you all these variances, historical, innovative. Grab a hold to that.
And still sticking to method and
still sticking to the base of it. So I'm definitely, today's gumbo it's shifting. And I know that people are making, again, based on location. It's like when they said they were making gumbo with blue crab, and I'm like, where's the meat? Where's the crab meat? Like, I grew up with Dungeness crab with lots of crab meat in it. But that blue crab brings a flavor to that gumbo that is different.
And it literally will be a tablespoon, but
the flavor of it, you know, it balances things out. So, I would say I get a little saddened about gumbo today because generationally, when I did that first gumbo pop-up, people were like, I haven't eaten gumbo since so-and-so passed away.
Wow.
So-and-so, in a lot of families, there is one gumbo making person, and when that person passes away, nobody else makes it. Nobody else makes it. And so today's people, some of their gumbos are not based on generational preparation of gumbo.
Right.
And so I'm going to be a strong advocate. Every time he's promoting on social media, I'm tagging, I'm spreading his story because that base.
Yeah.
We got to hold on to the base of it.
I was just gonna say what we're doing here tonight is part of what you're talking about.
Exactly.
And am I wrong that part of this week's activities you're doing gumbo cooking classes?
Tomorrow, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe I'll
We,
attend one.
you know,
so
for
I
the
make-
folks who don't know how to burn, yeah, we'll show them how to make a little gumbo tomorrow.
That's awesome.
But that is a way, it's not the same thing, but that is a way of passing it on.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think for us, it's really just really building community. So again, we're all gonna have our different methods and techniques, but it's really just an opportunity for folks to get together
Yeah.
and to have some gumbo social, which, you know, for me is church, so.
And indulge in a legacy. It's a legacy food. You know,
It is very much
the
so.
components of it, from the rice to to where you source your ingredients. It's passed down. You know, it's so great that you started Gumbo Week and are fortifying the community with these events because it's important.
Yeah,
Food is history. It's our
I'm going to
history.
eat some of your gumbo, but I'm going to have to make some now.
Yeah. No, I know what you're talking about. I'm not excited.
We good.
Well, again, let's exchange numbers if you need any one of these.
Jeff is on hand. Okay.
On call.
On call.
All hours of the day.
He'll run over. Yeah.
Can you meet me on Treasure Island halfway from Oakland?
I think there's a bus that goes out there.
Yeah. Good luck on that bus.
All right, well, that's about it for us. Does anyone in the audience have any questions for our esteemed guests today? Yes.
Yes,
You in the back.
question. Hello. My question is, what is the first memory of you like making gumbo
Oh.
with somebody you love, care for, and like what was that experience like?
I'll jump in.
Wow.
I remember, and even as Wanda was describing it, I remember closing my eyes. I remember the smell of roux cooking, and to be told what it was, because it was just oil and flour, but for it to smell like that, like it smelled so deeply savory and just like comforting. I remember the smell of roux, and then I remember watching a pot as the roux turned colors, over many, well, at least 2 hours. But it's that smell of the toasting flour in the fat. It's so interesting how good flour smells, and it's just flour when it's toasting.
Yeah.
And then when did you first make your own?
Oh, maybe like for New Year's with my mom and Karen Gill. Shout out to Karen, man. She nailed it. But she's our next door neighbor, so maybe 14 or 15.
You were 14.
Yeah, because even then I was like, oh my God, this is taking so long. Like we just, we didn't have phones per se. I think we had like a
TV
little
generation.
Nokia. Yeah, but like I just wanted to be on the phone with my boyfriend or something.
Yeah.
But I remember finally being like kind of old enough to sit still and do the watch pot cooking, because that's what gumbo is, But yeah, thank you for that. I'll let
That's
you
a good
Yeah.
I don't really have a memory of when I first made it. The memory I have is when I did make it the first time Grandma had already passed away.
Because she's who made it.
That's my gumbo is after Grandma. And what I remember in making it was that taste, that roux and filet is in a taste bud bank. And I made that pot and it was fine, but it was something that's like, It's something.
It's not quite there. It's not hers.
And I'm always looking for that taste in that memory bank when I make it from the way grandma made it. And so that's the memory that I have.
Always chasing
Love that.
grandma. Yeah, that's true.
Grandma
Yeah.
lives on.
Like because I never sat with her.
Right.
I never watched her make roux.
But you
None
know
of that, and it
exactly
wasn't
how it's supposed to
because
be.
it wasn't as important because my mother made gumbo that was good, and I had other people who made gumbo that was good, but it's her particular gumbo that taste when I'm tasting it every single time. That's what I'm looking for.
Wow.
I love that. My son said the same thing. There's like a gumbo that I made, and they're always looking for that.
That's the North Star now.
The gold standard,
Yeah, gold standard.
Yeah, I would say for me it's grandma like 5, the little stool thing, trying to look up, trying to figure it out. So yeah, probably that was the first kind of. I have like 3 uncles. They all are big dudes. They like to fight.
Just period.
Yeah, I remember people fighting over the last. Who in the hell ate the last crab leg? So,
But when did you actually get in there and
yeah, probably
even like
Yeah.
touch it at all or
Yeah.
I got to stir the root at 14.
See, come on.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I don't know the exact age, but there's folks. My grandmother and my mom raised me, so in our household, the elders would raise the kids, and so I learned how to cook from my grandmother. A lot of us always kind of cherish
Yeah, of
grandmother.
course. Yeah. It's the matriarchs for sure.
Yeah, so grandma's is the one that kind of helped guide me to the culinary component. So
I love that.
Same here. Hard to agree. Yeah.
Thank you.
Ashe Doris and Sylvia, as I was saying.
Any other questions for them? Yes.
Yes. What exactly is filet? Can you tell me what it consists of? I never heard of it.
One ingredient:
Yes.
sassafras leaves.
Yeah, ground.
And the sassafras leaves came from the Native Americans. That's all. That's all it is in it.
Is it spicy, hot?
No, not at all. It's aromatic.
Yeah.
That's why I think it could go good on some chicken wings fried up.
Yeah, it's kind of like
It's earthy.
in the area of bay laurel and like maybe mushroom or like it's stuff from
Like,
like
But very
earthy,
earthy,
yeah.
very, very distinct.
Yeah, really, but it's
So when we're done, you go next door.
He's got
You
it.
can get a sample of it.
Yeah, just
Taste
put it on
it,
your
smell
own.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Questions?
Yes.
His first question didn't have anything to do with family, and you all mentioned your grandmothers. How conscious are you in your daily routine of the work of legacy and preservation that you're actually doing?
Every day.
How does that
Every
show
time
up?
I cook.
Yeah.
It shows up that I could have literally a smell come through my nose. I could have a memory of a food, and I'll ask my mother, so whose favorite was that? Or who was like, I haven't thought to cook a rabbit. Now my mother didn't cook rabbit. I said, and it's a rabbit with biscuits. Oh, that was Daddy's favorite.
And it just occurs to you to want to cook that.
And it was around Juneteenth.
Wow.
So in my cooking for a Juneteenth celebration, doing a food altar, rabbit, 40-way gravy, and biscuits. So it comes to me, that legacy of food cooking comes to me in that sort of different ways.
Now you just said food altars.
Yes. Yeah, I coordinate food altars for different venues.
That's amazing. That's such good work. Yeah.
I'll probably like to add to that. I would say that I had the fortunate experience, like, my grandmother was able to, reap what she sowed while she was here. So like everything that she was able to put in, she had been able to see the growth, right, from a culinary standpoint, how I cook, the way I think about food before she passed away, the business component, all the things that she put to fruition.
Nice.
About just who I was going to be as an adult, as a human. She was able to see all of that, and I think that for her is really unique. And so, like, when I think about what I'm doing today, that's why I'm always kind of happy because, man, I've done everything that I really wanted to do from like paying respect to people who raised me. My mom's happy, my pops is happy. I'm happy, so I feel pretty good. Like I don't really need to. I'm always swinging for the fences. I just what I am a home run hitter, but those folks have been able to see the work they put in.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's a living kind of legacy component. But grandmas, I feel like from a black standpoint, grandmas, the grandfathers don't get enough love, but the grandmothers are really the glue
Totally.
of a lot of in the center of a lot of our households.
Can I say this, that what I found that in a lot of families, the number one cook of the gumbo were the men. Were men.
Well,
That's
or
like
if-
one of their dishes.
And if not, because in the case of my family, my grandmothers outlived my grandparents, my grandfather by so long. I never met either my paternal or maternal grandfather. I was raised by a step grandfather who was my grandfather, but yeah, I think if patriarchal figures didn't have that much of a hand in it, it's either because they weren't there. But I just wanted to answer your question was anytime I've ever been like, I nailed it, I'll be like, Doris was cooking through me or Sylvia was, and I'm just like immediate, like,
You can
I
feel
felt
it.
like I wasn't even in my body, when I nail it. So that, that's a great question too. Like they just live with us. And like you said, it just dawned on you to make this dish. You didn't really have a point of reference, and then you find out it was your grandfather's favorite,
It's like the black skillet. Why does it need to go on the shelf? You're going to use it every day. The black skillet stays on the stove.
It stays on the stove. The cast iron, I'm not lifting that.
It's never been on the shelf. You
Ever.
clean it.
It's literally.
It's on the stove.
Exactly.
I actually have three. One that fits into the
Me
other
too.
one.
I love that about
Did anyone get a recording of her saying that? They could take it home to my wife and just have her hear that.
Stop putting
why I
it
did
in.
it.
Yeah, stop
Yeah,
it.
that's heavy. Damn.
It's so heavy. No.
But a great question. Like, you can't do that with computer code. You can't code your way out of making a good pot of gumbo.
That's
Or
having
AI.
or AI. Like
AI
that
recipe,
doesn't
yeah.
exist. So-
What is it?
And that's just phenomenal.
3D print a roux.
No.
Or, tell me when you can do it. Because it takes a long time. I'm like, if I can press print and get a really good photo, I don't know, but you can't. So,
Any other questions before we wrap? And go eat gumbo?
let's go eat gumbo.
And smell filet.
Yes.